Chapter 27 Chapter 151 Near Death. JJ's POV. Is this for real? A lunch date or a party? A simple meal or a lavish feast? So much food. Absolutely magnificent. It feels like attending a birthday or a baptism. The food is all set on the side. Of course, they're naturally starving. And here we are, standing in line. Yes, I'm starving too. Who wouldn't be? Leshan, Bez, out of all the greasy dishes, this one stands out the most. Clap, clap. The servers are taking forever. I think all the food has already been served. And quat, there's ice cream, and quat, Say exclaimed, clapping excitedly. And quat, eat some proper food first. You might get an upset stomach if you eat ice cream right away. And quat, I warned. And quat, but I want ice cream. And quat, he pouted. And quat, oh my, suit yourself. And quat, I just let him be. Finally, victory. Grab some here, grab some there. Everything has to fit on the plate. After getting our food, we headed straight to the table. We sat near Kiefer, close enough to hear their conversation. They also told me not to go far from Keegan. While we were enjoying our meal, their conversation turned serious. Kiefer already looked tense. And then there was Yuri and Kiefer's father. What I didn't understand was why Aries was also sitting at their table with Ella. Eddie, wow. And quat, how's school? Are you studying? Well, and quat, their father asked Kiefer. And quat, my studies are none of your business. And quat, Kiefer replied bluntly. And quat, come on, Kiefer. I'm still your father. I still have responsibilities toward you and your brother. And quat, bullsh t, and quat, Kiefer snapped, clearly annoyed. And quat, watch your language, son. You're still in my house. And quat, his father said firmly. Damn. This is intense. It feels like I'm waiting for a big fight to break out. They don't even need to pull out guns like in the movies. Kiefer's father glanced at Aries and Yuri. And quat, look at you two. You used to come here just to pick up Kiefer, just for fun, and now it's still not enough. And quat, he said with a smirk. He even knows Percy. That's true. Aries has been here before. No wonder he knows so much. And quat, and you're Ella, right? And quat, he said, turning to her. And quat, the last time I saw you, you were with Kiefer. But now, it looks like you're with someone else. And quat, Ella's expression darkened. Aries immediately grabbed her hand. I can't blame him. His past is catching up to him. Then Kiefer's father suddenly looked at me. I nearly fainted from the shock. And quat, the only rose among the thorns. And quat, he asked me. One. Do. And quat, what's your name? You're new to me. And quat, I glanced at Kiefer, who was also looking at me. It was as if he was silently warning me to be careful with my answer. And quat, J. Jasper Jean Mariano. Just JJ. And quat, he fell silent for a moment, seemingly deep in thought, but his attention remained on me. And quat, I know a few Marianos in the business industry. What are your parents' names? And quat, he asked again. And quat, that's none of your business. And quat, Kiefer interrupted sharply. Good thing he spoke up. I didn't want to say their names either. It would only cause problems, especially with my father. And quat, it's just a name. There's nothing wrong with asking someone's name. And quat, he said, turning back to me. And quat, would You mind telling me their names? And quat. Queen. And quat. J. Jasper Mariano is my father. Gina Fernandez is my mother. And quat. I hesitantly answered. He suddenly smiled widely. And quat. What a small world. They have a child. Ha ha ha. And quat. He laughed. I felt irritated. What does he mean by that? And quat. It just so happens that I know your father. He's a stockholder in our telecommunications company. And on the other side, I also know your mother. She's the sister of Gina Fernandez, who happens to be my friend. And quat, he said, glancing at Aries. And quat. So, you're cousins? And quat. Aries just looked away. He was clearly not happy about what he heard. It was obvious he wasn't proud that we were blood relatives. And quat. I never imagined your parents together. I mean, no offense, but your mom seems a bit tactless. And quat, he said, struggling to find the right word to describe her. I lowered my head. It's true, Mama has no filter. She always speaks her mind, which often gets her into trouble. There have even been times when she ended up at the police station after an argument. Grandma always comes to her rescue, while I just stay quiet at home. And quat. I never even saw them together before. It amazes me that, and quat, he stopped mid-sentence. Kiefer's glass suddenly shattered. He didn't throw it or hit anything. It just broke in his hand. Kiefer slowly closed his fist, and blood dripped onto the table. And quat. Did you come here just to insult us? And quat. Kiefer asked, his tone serious. And quat. No. But why do you seem so affected? And quat. I looked at Kiefer and his father. If there were actual electricity flowing between their eyes, I could have charged a cell phone. And quat. Can you just tell us what you need? We still have classes. And quat, Kiefer said, annoyed, wiping his hand with a table napkin. His father signaled to one of his staff. And quat. I'm glad you brought that up. And quat. One of the men in a black suit handed him a document. Kiefer's father took it and passed it to Kiefer. And quat. Sign it. And quat, he ordered. Kiefer read the contents of the paper, and in an instant, his expression darkened with anger. He stood up and glared at his father. And quat. If you don't want to give me custody of Kieran, then give me back my inheritance. And quat. And quat. That's my mom's money. She worked hard for it and gave it to me. And quat. And quat. Your mother didn't have any money. She stole it from the company's stockholders, mine, to be exact. And quat. Kiefer threw the paper. And quat. I won't sign anything. And quat. His father's expression turned serious. And quat. You leave me no choice. And quat. Suddenly, the men in black suits moved toward us. We instinctively stood up and backed away from them. My food. They reached for Kieran, but before they could grab him, Kiefer struck one of them with a powerful punch. The other men in suits quickly reacted and closed in. Ella and Aries immediately stepped away. Yuri rushed to Kiefer's side to help him fight. That Aries is unbelievable. Help them, will you? What a shame. And quat. Let's help them. Kiefer, and quat. They shouted, and Kiefer immediately joined the fray. The number of black-suited men kept increasing. Seriously? How many of them are there? I spotted Keegan running toward me. Is this it? Are we going to run for it? I was about to greet him when someone suddenly grabbed him. Kieran was forced to run. And quat? Kieran, and quat? I called out. He ran toward me. I looked around. Chaos was everywhere. I saw no way out. And what? Where are we going? And what? He asked in a panic. Shit. I pulled him toward one of the doors. I tried opening and kicking it, but it was locked. Damn it. I frantically looked around, but all I saw were flying plates and scattered furniture. I had no choice. I ran to one of the tables, lifted the tablecloth, and hurriedly pushed Kieran underneath. And what? Stay here. I'm going to find Keegan. And what? I told him before lowering the cloth. I ran through the chaos, searching for Keegan, but I couldn't see him anywhere. Where is he? I kept running in circles, nearly tripping over broken glass and dodging flying objects. Then, a firm hand grabbed me. One of the men in black suits. And what? Where's Kieran? And what? He demanded. And what? In my pocket. Having coffee. And what? I snapped and immediately shoved him hard. He lost his grip, and I took the chance to escape. The chaos intensified. But then, a loud male voice silenced the entire room. And what? Enough. And what? Kiefer's father shouted. At the same time, gunshots rang out. I froze. I saw Keegan being held in a headlock by one of the black-suited men, struggling to break free. I swallowed hard. Then I noticed the person I had pushed earlier, now standing in front of me, pointing a gun directly at my heart. Shit. This isn't a joke. This is really the end for me. The fighting came to an abrupt stop. Kiefer glared furiously at his father. And what? You son of ABTCH, and what? He yelled. And what? Language, and what? His father scolded before signaling one of his staff. Suddenly, one of the men lunged at Kiefer, landing a hard blow. He dropped to his knees in pain but struggled to stay upright. And what? Where is Kieran? And what? His father demanded, scanning the room. No one answered. No one knew except me. And what? Sir, that girl was with Kieran earlier. And what? The man with the gun pointed at me. Oh. Great. Thanks a lot for having a gun. Kiefer's father walked closer, followed by his staff. And what? Where is my son? And what? He asked, his tone deadly serious. I shook my head. And what? I don't know. We got separated. And what? I lied. It was clear he didn't believe me. He signaled his men again, and I gasped when three of them suddenly grabbed Kiefer and restrained him. And what? Ah, and what? Kiefer groaned in pain. And what? Kieran, come out. Come out wherever you are. And what? His father shouted. I wanted to run to Kiefer, to stop them, but how could I when the gun followed my every move? I looked desperately at Yuri and Ares, silently pleading for help. But even they were powerless. Kiefer was already on the floor, yet they didn't stop. And what? That's enough. Have mercy on Kiefer. And what? I pleaded. And what? Mercy? That word doesn't suit my son. Kiefer needs to learn a lesson. And what? His father said with a cruel smile. Are you really his father? How could he treat his son like this? Tears streamed down my face as I helplessly watched the brutality continue. Kiefer was still holding on, refusing to cry out, still throwing punches despite everything. Kiefer's father seemed to realize that hurting his son would get him nowhere. And what? Kiefer, why are you so stubborn? And what? He asked, stepping closer. Kiefer remained silent. And what? TSK. Plan A isn't working. I'll move on to Plan B. And what? He added. My Eyes widened in shock as the other men in black suits suddenly drew their guns, pointing them at the rest of us. I took a step back as the cold barrel of a gun pressed against my head. And quat, all I need is a signature. That's it, or Kieran, and quat, his father threatened. I saw the worry in Kiefer's eyes. Everyone turned to look at him, waiting for his decision. He struggled to stand, then suddenly turned his gaze toward me. No, don't look at me. And quat, brother, don't, and quat, Keegan screamed, but the man restraining him silenced him. Kiefer remained quiet for a moment, deep in thought. Then, to my shock, he slowly reached for the pen on the table. And quat, Kiefer, and quat, don't, and quat, Yuri and I shouted in unison. His father immediately handed him the document. The hand holding the pen began to lower toward the paper. No. His mother was everything to Kiefer. If he gave up what she worked so hard for, it would be as if he were surrendering everything he had been fighting for. Highest. I'll only do this once. And quat. Pull the trigger. And quat. I shouted.